Bulletstorm VR rebuilds the 2011 original in a gallant attempt to bring something new to the virtual reality space. It's the same game, for better or worse, but with a lot of effort put in to make it work on both PC and the Meta Quest, as well as PSVR 2. I've come away unimpressed after playing through both the PC and Quest versions, but let's break it all down and see if it's something worth checking out in the XboxEra review of Bulletstorm VR. There's a warning when you start the game about how, essentially, that 2011 was a different time. On PC VR, Bulletstorm is here in its entirety, though the swearing seems cut out on the Quest version. Lots of cringy jokes, very obvious plot beats, and all the same issues persist in all three versions of this game. Bulletstorm tried something different, a skills for kills type of approach like Crackdown, but with a focus on frenetic first-person shooting. The basic plot is that you were a government assassin who thought he was taking out wrongdoers, but instead, you were being used by an evil bastard to cover up his crimes. The writing's pretty bad, the voice acting's even worse, and graphically it hasn't held up the best. PC VR at max settings looks like a decent 2011 game, and on the Quest you're getting all that mobile chipset power to give you something that would kind of look at home on the original Xbox. If you love Bulletstorm, then this is certainly a way to play it. I'm not going to call it a good one, as I'll get into my issues with the controls soon, but it's still impressive to see the entire experience of the game translated into VR. Cutscenes are either flat or stereoscopic 3D screens you'll watch, and my game crashed a lot on PC and the Quest during them. Those were frustrating, but at least they weren't as dull as the gameplay felt. One of the toughest things about converting a game to VR is making the gameplay feel like it was made for the platform. And Bulletstorm VR has done a lot of work to change up the game, and at first it felt like it paid off. Everything from the UI to how you reload and use their weapons feels pretty natural. Movement is great, which is key for a game where you'll be sliding like a greased up meth head. The gameplay loop consists of either using your left hand to whip, you can slide, you can kick and send enemies flying in a slow motion gravity defying arc, and you'll use various guns, the environment, and your skills to rack up skill points. Spending said points at various in-game shop pod things lets you upgrade your guns and abilities in a still decently satisfying loop. The issue is that in VR, it's just way too easy. At various points, you'll have different abilities like new energy swords, which become laughably overpowered in VR. I stood still and just let enemies run at me as I lazily swung my arms back and forth and used the swords to kill dozens of people. I also had a constant issue on my PC while using the Quest 3 through SteamVR Link or Virtual Desktop. It would constantly read my hands as pointing up at an angle, making it really damned uncomfortable to aim properly. Nothing I did fixed it, and eventually I gave up the better looking version of the game and played mostly on the Quest 3. Performance on both was solid all around, which I'd hoped for as the game isn't that much of a looker anymore. It's okay on PC, but it's downright cheap looking at times on the Quest, and I know the downgrade was to keep performance up, and it's worth it because I never really felt sick while playing. But wrapping things up, Bulletstorm was a guilty pleasure of mine around lunch. It was never the best looking and the story was pretty bad. It was just a good, mindless shooter. The translation to VR, while a commendable amount of work, doesn't actually translate into an enjoyable gameplay experience. Combine that with a game that overall just hasn't aged very well, and constant crashing for me on both PC and Quest 3, and especially at $40, it's just not something I can recommend.